Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Jeff Wald. Jeff is the founder of WorkMarket, an enterprise software platform that enables companies to manage freelancers. It was acquired by ADP. Jeff has founded several other technology companies, including Spinback, a social sharing platform eventually purchased by Salesforce.com. Jeff began his career in finance, serving as managing director at activist hedge fund Barrington Capital Group, a vice president at venture capital firm Glenrock, and various roles in the M&A group at JP Morgan. Jeff is an active angel investor and startup advisor, as well as serving on numerous public and private boards of directors. He also formerly served as an officer of the auxiliary unit of the New York Police Department. Jeff is the author of The Birthday Rules and the Amazon bestseller, The End of Jobs, The Rise of On-Demand Workers and Agile Corporations. Jeff frequently speaks at conferences and in media on startups. I will start that again. Jeff frequently speaks at conferences and in media on startups and labor issues. Jeff holds an MBA from Harvard University and an MS and BS from Cornell University. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Wald.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you. So Jeff, Work from the Inside Out. It's all about the different transitions and changes that people make over the course of their careers, oftentimes beginning with a career path or starting their journey to work, maybe from a place that was more influenced perhaps by other well-intentioned people, and then emerging into something maybe a little bit more driven from a more internal place. I don't know if that's true for you or not. I know you've done a lot of different things. Tell us a little bit about the early years and where you began and how that might have shaped or formed or influenced where you are today.
My first jobs, the beginning of my career, I did not work from the inside out. Quite the opposite. I was very much responding to what was going on around me. And I remember saying to somebody when they said, "Why did you start your first company?" I said, "Well, I think that has the highest probability of propelling my career." It was literally an analysis of the different options I had at the time. And I thought, okay, but if I sell this company for a lot of money, it elevates me, it elevates my career, it elevates me from a wealth standpoint. Whereas I go down these other paths, they're nice and plodding paths. And it was just an external analysis. And I am hopeful, but wary that now as I stand at this decision point, and I've had so much fortune and good luck and all these things that I hope that now I can finally go from the inside out and really spend this time now and cogitate and think about, well, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to spend my time on? What kind of things do I want to impact? And be very mindful of that as opposed to, well, this is the highest probability path, because I can feel that pull still on me.
Yeah.
And I would say that pull is driven by insecurities, but
really,
I'd like to wish that I'd banished all of them, but far from it.
Well, it's interesting. And I wonder, you think about, well, there is that, let's say that urge or that desire, I think, especially when you're starting out and you want to, let's say, start taking care of yourself, and you are thinking about how much money are you going to make? How are you going to put a roof over your head, food on the table? And so it's hard not to think about those external rewards, let's say. If you're completely altruistic about everything, you might be living out of your car. Or, although I know I started my career in human services and it was very altruistic, and I did manage to make enough to live on, but that was about it. But I think that there's still this notion of, how do you take care of yourself in those early years? And a lot of people just don't even know what they want yet. They don't know how to think about things from that more internal place, perhaps. But I'm curious, you had, when we introduced you, you said you had an MS and a BS from Cornell. Were those also in business of some kind, or where did you start from finishing up at Cornell?
So the program at Cornell was a 5-year combined undergrad and grad program for a master's in public policy.
Oh.
So my undergrad was economics, and my graduate degree was technically a master's in public administration, but I had to focus on public policy, specifically U.S.-Chinese trade relations. And I took that degree and went to go work on Wall Street in an investment bank because that's what people were doing.
Right.
That is literally why I took that job, because everybody said, oh, well, you should work at McKinsey or Bain or BCG and go the consulting route, or you go to Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or Bear Stearns or Lehman Brothers, both of which existed at the time.
Right.
And you become an investment banker. And so I found banking more interesting than consulting, and so that's the path I went down. Not anything introspective, not anything about what I wanted to learn or do. It's just that's what people did. I don't regret that move at all. I think it was a wonderful way to start my career, and I was super fortunate to be able to get that job and to have done well at that job. But that wasn't based on any internal drive or longing. I didn't even understand what it was.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think what you were just saying about that internal drive, that had nothing to do with it. It just, other than maybe survival. So.
Well, I'll say this, not just survival, but validation. It wasn't that everybody was going and doing it. The top students were going and doing it. If you could get that job, you took it. Well, if there's something that's ranking people, and this is something that I struggle with a lot, keeping score.
Yeah.
Well, this was a big scoreboard on graduation from undergrad, or in my case, the 5-year program.
Right.
Who got the best jobs? Well, I wanted to get the best jobs to prove to everybody that I was worthy of the best jobs, and I got it. So
who were you?
I was
who
lucky.
Were you proving it to?
Who was I proving it to? Gosh, well, if I knew the answer to that, I mean, my gosh, a lot of people.
Okay.
I wanted to prove it to my family, to my parents, not prove, but I wanted them to be proud of things that I had accomplished. To classmates, and that's that kind of keeping score, that I got this job and you didn't, as pathetic as that is. I won't pretend that it wasn't there.
Yeah. So you had a competitive edge, let's say.
Of course. At 22, who doesn't want to show that they're the best at everything and making the most money and all those things? And at 22, those things are important.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, though, that you chose the 5-year program in public policy and public administration. That's not the route that I would expect somebody to go into investment banking. So I'm curious what that set of choices was for you. Where did that come from?
Thought about politics for a long time, was very engaged in it as an undergrad in the city of Ithaca. And I found it all very interesting and fascinating, and geopolitics at the forefront. So writing a master's thesis on U.S.-Chinese trade relations was intellectually interesting for me. And so I was presented with this opportunity in my junior year that if I stayed for one more year, I could end up with a master's degree. And I thought that's a pretty good trade.
Yeah.
And there are areas that I am interested in.
Yeah.
And so I actually ended up running a campaign for a guy running for mayor of the city of Ithaca, in which Cornell University resides. And he won.
Oh, wow.
He won. I mean, look, I started out as an intern on the campaign, and I ended up running the campaign by the end of it. But it was an amazing experience, and I really enjoyed it. And it developed and nurtured a interest and appreciation and love of politics and our political
Oh,
process.
wow. Now, were you doing that while you were in school?
I did do that while I was in school. Yes.
Wow. So then sleep was not on the agenda at that point in time.
Not so much. Not
Yeah.
so
Okay.
much.
Having
That
worked
was,
on
it was a
campaigns myself, I know sleep takes a back seat. So
yeah.
even in a small city, it's still a lot of work.
It is still a lot of work, and I still, I can't see it from this angle, on my desk here at the home office, I have the front cover of the Ithaca Journal
Ah,
from the next day when a gentleman named Alan J. Cohen was declared winner of the mayor's race in the city of Ithaca by 77 votes.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
It was a wonderful experience, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Just
Wow.
somebody that I really enjoyed working with and working for.
That's great. What a great experience.
And I took all
So,
that great political experience and went right to work at an investment bank, as one
well,
does.
I mean, I'm guessing that experience was probably very valuable. And I can imagine also, even though I'm sort of begging the question about public administration and why going into investment banking, but I could easily see where understanding economics, understanding foreign markets could be, even from a public administration, public policy point of view, could be very useful even in investment banking. I don't know if you found that it was, but was it?
I would say that most experiences one can bring with them to any job. You're going to find ways to use them, whether they are structures of thinking, frameworks, whether it's work ethic or attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, to your point, I was working 18 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week on a campaign, on a master's thesis, it does teach you to just get stuff done. And I remember very early in my career at the bank, the head of the M&A department saying, Jeff Wald and one other guy, they're the only two I can count on to just go through a wall and get stuff done.
Wow. Wow.
And he wasn't saying it to praise me. He was saying it to tear apart the rest of the analysts in the M&A group and just to point out to them that they weren't working hard enough.
Wow.
And I was fortunate enough to be pulled aside by the head of the investment bank, who was a wonderful, wonderful man. He actually passed a few years ago. He got them to pay for business school for me. He looked out for me for no reason that I could ever understand. But he pulled me aside one day and he said, you know what, Jeff, I like you because I see in you what I was. Because I always said, nobody's going to outwork me. They all may be smarter than me, but no one's going to outwork me. And I was always the first one in and the last one to leave. And you're always the first one and the last one to leave. The difference, though, is that you actually, I think, are the smartest person in the room. So I am very eager to see what you do. And he looked out for me.
I was going to say, little did he know that you actually had a little sleeping bag under your desk. You actually never left the office. No.
You say in jest, my friend. But, that is what it is to be an investment banking analyst. We all had pillows at our desks and would go underneath the desk and catch a few winks.
So how many years were you there before you went and got your MBA? Because you went to Harvard, so I assume you left Wall Street and moved up to Cambridge for at least a couple of years. Is that right?
For better part of 2 years, and I worked for 4 years prior to business school. And our friends at JP Morgan were very kind and paid for business school for me.
Nice.
And kept me on payroll so I could afford to live while I was up there, which was super kind. And, when I got back and absolutely couldn't stand being an investment banker, we came to an arrangement and we ended our relationship. So
oh, wow.
To this day, I will be forever grateful. I am forever grateful, and I will continue to be forever grateful to JP Morgan. It's an amazing institution.
Yeah.
I think all the people that were there while I was there are gone by now, but still, I will remain loyal to them. And every time someone calls and says, oh, can you come switch banks? I'm like, nope, we'll never switch banks. Never going to happen.
Wow. Nice. It's nice. I can appreciate the just the sort of depth of your gratitude about that experience. And even though you reached a point where you were ready to move on, you can see the benefits and what you gained from it. So what made you decide it was time to move on, and how did you make that decision?
Well, when I was away at school was the first time that I had a break.
Yeah,
And people don't generally go to business school to take a vacation, but for me, having worked as hard as I did, it was the first time I had left the office that wasn't on a business trip or just to go home to sleep for a little bit.
yeah.
And I remember the first 3 or 4 months of school, I would fall asleep in class all the time because there wasn't a managing director standing over my shoulder waiting for something and yelling at me. So it felt like this wonderful time off.
Yeah.
And there was one professor who would always throw chalk at me every time I nodded off. I remember he threw the chalk and it hit me and I woke up and he looked at me and he said, "You better not have been dreaming about my mama." He's a nice Southern guy. And to me, I had no context. And I just looked, I'm like, I swear to God, I wasn't. The whole class laughs. I found out later the case study was about his mother that we were discussing. So there was at least some context to him saying that to me, but to the guy that just wakes up for this brilliant, very heavily accented Southern professor saying that to you, it's a bit jarring.
That's really funny. What fond memories. What did you enjoy about being at Harvard, or what?
Oh my gosh, Tammy.
Did you get a lot out of being there?
We could go on for hours about that. Look, I'm glad that the gratitude that I have for where I've been and what I've achieved comes through. I don't pretend that I didn't work really hard. I did. I mean, I worked as hard as a person can work, but I also don't pretend that luck doesn't play a part of it. I also don't pretend that my background doesn't play a part in it. The resources that I was gifted by being born into my family don't play a part of it. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to spend time at that school, just how venerated the institution is, and you get to wear that brand for the rest of your career, the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, and it's not fair. I mean, I shouldn't get all the benefit of all the brilliant minds that have gone through there, but you do, because you say you went to that university as well. And that's a gift. The idea that you have this very safe space, and I don't mean it in a negative way, I mean it in a way that you can really debate and discuss and go out on a limb and not have anybody jump down your throat because you're just postulating something intellectually.
Right.
And being able to debate and discuss that with all of these amazing people that also got, gifted the opportunity to go to this university and sit there in that classroom with you. We really debated and discussed stuff, and people really said things that would be viewed as inappropriate in some contexts. I just air quoted for those that are listening. That's you want to challenge things. It is the epitome of an academic environment, the case study method at that university, because you bring together people that are all so incredibly intelligent. You bring together people that have very actually diverse backgrounds.
Yes,
you had a bunch of white male bankers and consultants and hedge fund people, but you also had people from the military and people from nonprofits, and there were people from every race and ethnicity that you could imagine. And so to bring everyone together and to say things that in other contexts people might get offended by, but for someone to say, all right, let me tell you why I think that's wrong.
Right.
And you debate and discuss the merits based on data and evidence. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. We should all be so lucky to have that kind of environment.
Yeah, it's luxurious almost, because it is a snapshot in time where you can really swing wide. I did something similar to what you did, not exactly the same way. I went to Boston University and went to their business school. We also used all of Harvard's cases and did case study, the same thing. And it felt like you got to play in a sandbox and play with ideas and look at things without there being any risk of getting fired or being spoken to in a certain way, because you really did have a chance to throw ideas around. And it was both a privilege and a luxury in a way to be able to do that.
It really is. And it's unfortunately an increasing luxury, meaning a scarce item these days, where we should be able to debate in the public square and debate respectfully and debate with evidence. And that's not, unfortunately, the public square we have right now.
No.
I am hopeful we will have it again, but
I hope
right
so.
now we don't.
No. In a lot of settings, we don't. So I also can appreciate that you worked for several years before you went for that MBA. I think that makes a big difference when you can have some other work experience before you get that degree, because you bring something else to the table that way.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're certainly right. Having people that had built nonprofits, having people that worked at consulting firms, having people worked at big corporations, everyone brings a different perspective. I mean, they're very junior perspectives. We were all 25 to 30 broadly. And so it's not like we had a wealth of experience, but we had a different perspective. And obviously people came from very different backgrounds of great affluence and backgrounds of minimal subsistence. And so everybody has a very interesting point of view. Everyone has a perspective. Everyone has a different body of evidence to debate and discuss. And so very fortunate.
Yeah. So, so you left the Cambridge, Boston area and went back to New York then, and went back to JP Morgan. And how quickly did you realize when you went back that you were probably going to leave investment banking at that point? Was it your MBA experience that had anything to do with that, or?
Look, taking a break just showed me that, and having time to spend with all these people in the classroom and hearing about their experiences showed me that my experience was not what everyone was going through. It gave me I was like, wait a minute, you guys all don't work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week? What? Wait, you have never slept in your office? What? Wait, you've never worked 72 hours straight and then collapsed and had to be taken to the hospital? That's not normal? No? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. And so I was still excited to get back, but I would say it was a solid week of being back. And I thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. Like, it was fun for me before business school. It was genuinely fun. I enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it when I got back. And so I went and had a conversation with a wonderful, wonderful person named Rob Kindler, who was the head of the M&A group at the time. He's now a vice chairman at Morgan Stanley. And I just said to him, I was like, Rob, I can't do this. I just can't. And he sat down and we talked about it. And he asked me what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And he was incredibly understanding and incredibly helpful.
Wow. So there's a way in which, you said something a little while ago about, something about luck. I'm curious what your philosophy is about luck, or what role that has played in your life.
Well, I certainly appreciate the saying that luck favors the prepared. And so I don't leave anything to luck.
Okay.
But to pretend that luck, serendipity, or just a freak accident or whatever it is doesn't play some role, to pretend that you're so deserving of everything that you got. It's just not accurate.
Yeah.
Hard work is a predicate. You are not going to get to some fantastic outcome without hard work.
Right.
The right attitude is a predicate.
Right.
That you're going to go and get these things done, and optimism and a host of other things are predicates. But those are all great and have to haves, but they're not the only determining factor.
Right.
To pretend that chance meeting I had with Jimmy Lee didn't turn into a wonderful mentoring relationship. What if I turned right instead of left down the hallway?
Exactly.
I was one of 1,000 analysts there. What if he were not in a great mood that day?
Exactly.
We interacted, as opposed to him kind of looking and being like, huh.
Exactly.
And, look, I set myself up for that great thing when he said, oh, tell me your story, kid. And I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. He's like, what? And then he went and we were in a meeting a month later, and he's like, wait a minute, you're that kid I ran into. And like, I set myself up for that because I said to him, well, I get here every day and I've been working nonstop, blah, blah, blah. And then when he saw my work, he's like, wait a minute, I like this kid.
Yeah.
That's luck.
Yeah.
That's luck. But the luck wouldn't have happened if I wasn't working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right. So that begs another follow-up question about the term hard work. What do you think hard work is? Is it just being there that many hours and applying yourself all those hours?
That's a good question. I would say no.
Yeah, what is hard work?
It is getting done the tasks that you are being asked to get done in as efficient and as intelligent way and as correct way as possible, and then asking for more.
Okay.
And then saying, all right, I got this done.
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Yeah.
You want to be the person that the manager, your boss, anybody on that team turns to and says, Jeff's the guy that gets things done. Let's get it to him.
Right.
Right. You want the ball.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so the hard work doesn't mean being there 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
It means being there 18 hours a day, 7 days a week and getting done more than other people are getting done.
Yeah.
Getting it done better.
Right. Being effective.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I just was curious your perspective on that. Since you've written about work, you've written about that in your most recent book. I wanted to, and we will talk about that. Because I've seen where there are a lot of workplaces where if somebody's walking out the door at 5 o'clock, they get the hairy eyeball from their coworkers. Oh, they must not be working hard enough.
I would always
a child in daycare they've got to go pick up. And it may be that they get twice as much done before 5 o'clock as somebody who stays till 8 o'clock. But I think that there's a lot of misnomers out there about what hard work means. And I can appreciate what your definition is. And I think also when it comes to luck, you showed up. You were there at the right time at the right place, and you worked hard. And a combination of those things can make a big difference.
Of course. Look, going all the way back to luck, if I don't get that internship that a family friend set me up with, I don't get that job at JP Morgan, maybe.
Right.
If I'm not raised in my family, I don't get into Cornell University. I don't have the resources to hire tutors and all the other things that I had. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much fortune that goes into it that just leads me every night to get on my knees and pray and just say thank you.
Yeah.
It's not a part of Jewish theology, which I'm Jewish, but I still get on my knees in front of my bed every night and just say thank you. And I don't ask for anything. That'd be ridiculous for me to ask for stuff or for any this or that. I just say thank you.
Ask for
what I've been giving.
Jeff, world peace.
Yeah, but I feel like if he hasn't brought it yet, I'm not sure that anybody's delivering that anytime soon. I think that that's on us.
That's on us. Okay. So you knew you didn't want to continue with the grind. Where did you go from there? How did you make the decision? You said you knew what you didn't want. Did you know what you did want at that time?
I had become very enamored with entrepreneurship.
Already. Okay.
Yes. And I went and found a job at a venture firm. And it was an amazing experience. And it really got me very deep into the world of startups as somebody backing them. And after 4 years there, I thought I should go do this. I am so enamored with these men and women that are coming in and starting their companies. And I remember saying, and I appreciate this phrase has become very hackneyed now, but I would say to them, you are what makes America great. You are taking risks. You are putting your careers on the line because you think there's a better way to get something done. You see a better way, and our system will reward you with tremendous amounts of wealth if you are right, and it will support you and push you through if you're wrong, and you'll be able to try again. That creative destruction is what sets this country apart.
Yeah.
One of many things, I should say.
Yeah. And did you have clearly you must have had an idea of what you wanted to do at that point?
I didn't.
No.
I really did not.
So you just left the venture firm without?
Oh, no. Sorry. When I left the firm, I was starting a company. And
You
I
knew what you were
met a
starting.
person,
Okay.
and he and I had been working on a business plan for a number of months.
Okay.
And we did leave to go start that. So yes, but I wasn't sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to leave the firm because I need to start this company. It was, let me think about some ideas. Oh, what do you
Yeah.
got? That's good or interesting. Okay, no, all right, let's work on something. And then we worked on it. And then when it was ready to go,
Yeah.
I said, all right, now I'm going to leave to start that company.
Got it.
But I don't want to, I'm drawing the distinction between me having this innate desire
Right.
to build a company in space X,
Right.
space Y.
Right.
It was this other guy's idea that we then formed and shaped. And I thought, this has a high probability of working, back to our probabilities.
Right.
And I thought, if I start this company, I may be able to get to a certain level of wealth much quicker than the way I'm doing it. So I will do this thing now. And that's what happened.
You still were on the wealth trajectory too.
I mean, I wouldn't pretend that I'm not on it now. But yes, I did. And of course, the irony being that that company failed miserably and wiped me out. So
Wow.
it did the exact opposite. I was down to nothing. I mean, I say, I was bankrupt, but bankrupt actually is a very specific term. I shouldn't say that because I did not officially declare bankruptcy.
Okay.
But I was wiped out. I started a business. I tried. It failed. And that was that.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens. That is a part of the entrepreneurial journey.
Yes. And you started it with, and you had 4 years of experience knowing sort of the ins and outs of how to fund and how to gauge what worked and what didn't work. And yet when you dipped a toe in the water and then swam in it, you still didn't make it to the other side.
The data is the data.
Yeah.
In terms of the number of businesses in startup land that fail.
Yeah.
We know the data, we know the statistics going in, and what I will say to startup founders is it's your job to change the math, to do everything you can to increase the probability that your company is going to be successful. That's all you can do. And you have to recognize that you start out with a 90% potential of failing.
Wow.
So change the math. What are you going to do? Raise money. Okay, now you've lowered your percentages of failing. Hiring a great team, lowered your percentages of failing. Get your first customers on board. You've lowered your percentages of failing. Great. Do that. Keep doing that. We did raise money. We did hire a great team. We did have customers, but we still failed. It happens.
So what did you followed all the rules and it still didn't get you where you wanted to go?
Sometimes you can do everything right and luck just doesn't go your way. And so you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you keep going. And that is... What did it look
like for you?
What did it look like? It looked like a month of not leaving my apartment.
Yeah.
And being all bummed out about it. It looked like a lot of time thinking, I can't believe it's come to this. You go to all these wonderful schools and you work at all these wonderful places, and then you fail. It is a tough thing.
That was probably a first for you, it sounds like.
It was the first big kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
It was my first time really down in the dumps, and that was tough. How fortunate for me that I didn't, I made it till 32 without being down in the dumps.
Well, yeah, but it's a shock too. It's almost a shock.
It was a shock. It was certainly a shock to the system, but it is one that everybody has to go through. Everybody most likely will go through or should go through, quite frankly. Yes. And you persevere, much like hard work is pushing through walls and getting things done. No different here. You have to push through and you have to get it done.
Did you realize that at the time though? Or did you need that month to kind of...
I needed that month. You got to look, you lick your wounds, you take your lumps, and I appreciate this might not be an appropriate statement, you take it like a man. That actually has all kinds of terrible overtones to it. So whatever the appropriate way to say that is now.
Right.
You take it like an adult, and you take your lumps, you dust yourself off.
Yeah. And
you get back in it. And you don't cry about it. After you've taken time, take some time, cry about it if you want to cry during that time.
Sure. Well,
that's okay.
You're allowed, yeah.
That's okay. You're allowed to cry. All good.
Some people would have taken 6 months to cry about it.
That is fine. Do whatever you need to do
to
put it behind you and to take the lessons and move forward.
Right. And so did you take the lessons?
It took a little while. I'd
Yeah, I
love to
bet.
pretend, yeah, after that month, I jumped right in and I was all piss and vinegar and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. What does that phrase even mean, piss and vinegar?
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
Is that really a phrase? Am I messing it up? I don't know. That
Pith,
doesn't
is it
sound right.
pith and vinegar?
That
PF.
sounds better than, because piss and vinegar makes no sense to me. All right, I'm going to have a Google when this is done. I'm going to get a Google on this. But, I'd love to pretend that I was all full of pep and just ready to rock and roll, but I wasn't. It took a little while. You take those first few steps and you think to yourself, am I going to fall again?
Back, right?
Yeah, you got to get some mojo, get that mo going.
You had to, well,
But,
I'm guessing you had to figure out what you really wanted for yourself at that point.
well, I wish I could say that I was going from the outside in or inside out. I wasn't. That point, I was so focused on, I need some money.
Well, yeah.
I gotta get that money. And not just money to pay my rent and put food on the table. I wanted to build back up my capital base and get back to a certain level. So I was a little obsessed with that for a little while.
Yeah.
And so I did go to a hedge fund and
Uh-huh.
work there for a little bit. Good place to rebuild the capital base and things like that. It was also an amazing experience, wonderful people that I worked with there. And then I was ready to start again. Give startups another try. We actually rebuilt that company, and that was Spinback, that eventually got sold to Salesforce.
So that was you rebuilt the company that failed.
Yeah.
Huh, how about that?
Yeah. It was still a good idea. And
how about that? That's great.
We found 2 new partners who really stood in the front of the bus, and we kind of pushed from the back and got it done. And then we started Work Market, which was by far the biggest endeavor I had tried. We raised $60 million all in from some of the leading venture capitalists in the world. And we were trying to really help companies transform their labor model by making it efficient and compliant to engage with freelancers. But again, I felt that this was just a high probability chance of working. And this was my highest probability of having a big win. And this time it turned out to be correct. Took 7.5 years, but it still ended up being correct. We had a great exit to ADP, and I got to spend 2.5 wonderful years at ADP, unbelievable institution. And now I sit really being able to think about work from the inside out. And what do I want to do? And it's in some ways sad that it took me having 2 exits and outcomes and having enough money for me to be comfortable that I can take whatever risks for me to finally look inside. I wish that I had thought about it differently, but it just wouldn't be accurate to say that I did.
Well, everybody has their own comfort level and their own perspective on what works for them. I mean, it's, I would say that there were a number of things that you've done over the years that you were driven from the inside to make some of these things happen. It's not, it may be that now you're at a new place or a new-ish place to really explore from the inside out in a different way than you have before.
That is a fair point, because when you're saying exploring from the inside out, I took it to mean the inside of what I really want versus the inside, because I was driven from the inside out, actually. Yeah. I was driven by insecurities and fears to prove something before. And now that I don't feel the need to prove anything to anybody, which, by the way, no one should feel the need to prove anything to anybody.
Well, yeah.
For yourself.
Right.
But I wish that I had these kind of cogitations earlier.
Sure.
But I have no regrets, and I couldn't be happier with, the way things have unfolded. And I'm super for this next step.
So tell us about the birthday rules.
The birthday rules started as a joke because my older brother and his wife, who are 2 of the best humans I have met in all my travels all around this world, they lamented because their eldest son, Jonah, had asked for a phone. Jonah was 7. And my older brother, again, person I most admire in the world, number 2 being his wife. And they had no idea what to do. Oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we tell this kid about a phone? How do we introduce a phone? When do we know he's ready for a phone? And my older brother made a throwaway statement. He just said, someone should just write a list of when kids get what, and every parent's got to follow it. And I thought to myself, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll write that list. He's like, you're not going to write that list. I'm like, oh, I'm going to write the list. And so I ended up hiring some people to do some research about what different developmental psychologists the world over were saying about different technologies and brain development and when a child was capable of handling the responsibilities on average.
Yeah.
And just distilling all that down into a little framework. I got a lovely woman named Dr. Rachel Marsh, who runs, I think, I'm going to get her title wrong, but she runs the brain imaging labs at Columbia University. She co-authored the book with me. She also happens to be married to my younger brother. And we put out this book, A Fun and Flexible Framework for Raising Children in a Technology-Enabled World, that give parents a guide, because, look, every family's value system is different, every family's economic capability is different, every child's developmental path is different.
Yeah.
And so the book is not designed to be predictive or prescriptive. It's just a framework for having a conversation.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. So that came out when?
That came out in 2017.
Okay, so
somewhere around there.
It's fairly current. Okay, that's great. I'm gonna check that out. We'll put that in the show notes. And so let's talk about your book, The End of Jobs, The Rise of On-Demand Workers and Agile Corporations. I am fascinated by this book.
Well, unlike the birthday rules, which I have no basis since I'm not a developmental psychologist and I don't have children in writing, this book I'm actually qualified to write. Like I will fully say, and humility is not my strong suit, but this book I'm qualified to write.
Yeah.
So I started writing this book out of frustration because I would go to conferences and give talks or be on panels, and other people would give their predictions on the future of work, and their predictions just were so stupid. And they just weren't based on fact or evidence or how companies actually engage workers.
Yeah.
I remember being in a panel and the guy said, oh, well, every company's obviously just going to immediately go to freelancers for everything because companies just want to avoid paying people benefits. I'm like, have you ever worked in a company? Do you have any idea how companies make decisions? Because that's an asinine statement.
Yeah.
Companies could have used freelancers for 30 years.
Right.
And the size of the freelance workforce basically hasn't changed in 30 years.
Yeah.
So no, that is not what's going to happen.
Right. Right.
And so I started to put together a series of frameworks around thinking about the future of work that involved what is the history of work? How have companies and workers come together to produce the goods that we need as a society, goods and services? The second is the data on the world of work. Let's not make a prediction that 70% of this is going to happen if there only 30% can happen.
Right.
So what does the data set? All of the data sets tell us. And third is, how do companies actually engage workers?
Right.
When you look at those things, I'm not saying that you have a crystal ball.
Right.
I'm just saying you have a higher veracity. You have a higher probability of things being true that you predict.
Right.
I will tell you this. I was on a panel the other day, and a guy said, I think 50% of the workforce is going to work remote post-COVID. And I kind of said, I'm sorry, can I jump here for a second? That's interesting prediction. How do you juxtapose that with with the fact that only 42% of workers can work remotely? Because clearly bus drivers and manufacturing workers and transportation and retail and logistics and entertainment workers can't.
Healthcare.
Yeah. He said, oh, I didn't know that. I said, well, shouldn't you know that, though, if you're going to open your mouth?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you know it? And that encapsulates why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Because we do a very deep dive on history. We do a very deep dive on data and the data around the world of work. And we do a very deep dive in how companies actually engage workers. And we use that to make near-term and long-term predictions on the future of work.
This is important information. And tell us quickly about the essays on the
Well, I will say this.
2040. That's the
The Future of Work Prize has been my best idea in writing this book. Writing a book is hard. It took me 7 years to write this thing. And most business books just take the exact same concept and repeat it over and over and over again. And I don't like repeating. So I came up with the idea. I do serve as an advisor to the X Prize of, let me do an X Prize-like competition and let me get some of the men and women that are shaping the future of work to write what they think is going to happen in 2040, and to make it interesting and to make it fun and to make it real. I created my own X Prize, and I put up $10 million, and whichever one of them is the most correct in their prediction and their prognostications on the future of work, I will award this Future of Work Prize in 20 years. So very long dated, and I get to root for inflation in this one context of my life. But I was so fortunate to have these people put forward their thoughts. They're so amazing. I am so grateful for all of their work. And I'm very, very excited to see the reception of different people to their different essays.
Well, I am really excited about your book and about all the information you share and the essays from these thought leaders on where we will be, or where they think we will be in 2040. I'll be curious to see who wins the prize too.
As will I.
So, well, listen, Jeff Wald, thank you so much for sharing your story, the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns. I do want to finish this up because I know you have to go, but I am curious about when you served as an officer in the auxiliary unit of the New York Police Department, and then we will let you go.
Well, I was very fortunate to be safe on 9/11, and aside from all the emotions of horror and shock and sadness, it was a feeling of powerlessness that I had no way to help. No way to help those who were in pain, no way to help my country in its defense. And when I heard about the auxiliary units of the NYPD, which is akin to the reserve in the Army, I immediately joined. And it allowed me to put on a uniform, and not nearly the level of danger that a regular officer faces, and obviously not nearly the level of danger that someone in the armed services faces in a conflict, but it was something. It was something I could do, and it allowed me to serve my city, my community, my country in some small way. And it was such an honor to have done it, and my mother is certainly glad that I am not doing it anymore.
Well, I would say that was something you did do from the inside out. That
is fair. That was very much from the inside out.
Well,
and it was
on
one of
that
the most
note,
proud things that I've done.
I will say thank you so much for being here today, and all the links and information about your work and your books will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here today, Jeff.
This was amazingly fun, and amazingly, this was as deep as I've gone on a podcast. And so thank you for leading that journey.
All right. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Jeff Wald. It was so interesting to speak with him about his professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources or links mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at www.tammygoulerloeb.com. Just look for episode 109. Are you thinking about what's next for you? Maybe you're feeling a little stuck. Get specialized group and individualized support, insights, and accountability from a brilliant mix of professional women in a safe, non-judgmental, creative space. Join one of my small hybrid mastermind coaching groups. We are starting on a rolling basis. You can learn more at bit.ly/navigating career change. That's bit.ly/navigating career change. If you were inspired by this episode with Jeff, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd appreciate your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at tammygoularloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. I'd really love to hear how it's going for you. Feel free to drop me a line. You know my email. You know how to find me. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.